Hello Outriders, in today's video we're going to be going over the best AP Pyro build in the game. There are a ton of variations out there, but I feel like this one is the most fun and does the most damage. You are going to be able to one-shot the whole map and do CT15s in 3 minutes depending on what map you do. I'll be including a 3-minute completion of Boomtown and a 5-minute completion of Chem Plants, so make sure you guys pay attention to those as to how I use my skills, my positioning, and all that stuff. To be honest, I don't really like ability power skill builds. I like to point and shoot at stuff, but this is probably the second best class and build in the entire game. Unlike my Technomancer build video, I'm going to actually have to not only show you the build, but actually tell you how to play. Because it's a skill build, I have to tell you how and when to use your skills, and also how to position yourself to get maximum damage. So make sure you follow along through the whole video. It's a completely different play style compared to Technomancer. Technomancer, you just point and shoot and kill stuff with ease. But as Pyro, you have to actually use your skills and be up close and personal in order to do the most damage possible. Before we move on to the video, I'd like to point out that most of you guys are not even subscribed to the channel. Do me a favor, click that subscribe button and smash that like button. It's free and it helps me out a ton. Alright, with the intro out of the way, let's move on. To start off, we're going to go over the skill tree. By default, you receive 10% anomaly power. As a Pyro, you heal by killing enemies with your skills, and your melee button inflicts burn. Unlike Techno, your melee skill will be important when fighting enemies up close. Not only to inflict burn, but also to activate a very powerful tier 2 mod that we will go and talk about later in the video. We're going to start by increasing our anomaly power by 6%. Then we're going to reduce our cooldown for overheat by 15%, which is the middle skill in the picture. Overheat is going to be our main source of damage. We're also going to increase our anomaly power by another 6%. We're also going to increase our skill damage by 8% to marked enemies. This means that whenever you use a skill on an enemy, it marks them, and the next time you use a skill, it'll increase your damage for that skill by 8%. We're also going to increase our anomaly power again by 6%. We're going to increase our anomaly power by 5%, increase our anomaly power by 6%, increase our skill leech by 6%, and also increase our anomaly power by another 6%. Every time we activate overheat, we're going to increase our anomaly power by 12% for 10 seconds. This is always going to be up due to overheat being on a 4-second cooldown. We're going to be increasing our resistance piercing by 15%, our damage to elites by 10%. We're going to reduce the cooldown of overheat by another 15%, which is the middle skill in the picture. Again, this will be our main source of damage. We're also going to be increasing the base damage of our overheat skill by 30%. Then we're going to be increasing our anomaly power by another 5%. We're going to be reducing all of our cooldowns by 10%. This is a pretty big one, as the more times we press our abilities, the more damage that we will be outputting. We're also going to be increasing our maximum health by 10% in order to reduce our ignite cooldown by 15%, which is our heat wave. 2 points, we'll be reducing our Ash Blast cooldown by 15%, but to get there, we're going to need to increase our weapon damage by 8%. That's it for the skill tree. Now let's move on to this actual skill that we'll be using. Again, if you have any questions about what I say or have any suggestions, please feel free to ask in the comments below. For our 3 skills, we'll be using Heat Wave, Ash Blast, and Overheat. The reason that I put them in that order is because that's going to be your rotation. First, you'll use Heat Wave 1 to 2 times, and Ash Blast, and one-shot everything with Overheat, okay? For our first skill, we're going to be using Heat Wave. It's on a 5.9 second cooldown, and it sends out a wave of fire that inflicts burn to enemies that get hit by it. Because we're using the 3-piece Akari set, every enemy hit by Heat Wave will increase our anomaly power by 50%. Whenever you use this ability, try and position yourself to hit as many enemies as you can. One of the mods in this build will make it so the enemies hit by this skill also take 25% increased damage, and it also stacks. So if you have 2 or 3 heat waves, your damage will increase by 25% each time you use it. For our second skill, we have Ash Blast. It's on a 12.3 second cooldown, and it inflicts ash on enemies caught in the blast. It does take some time to spread out, so make sure you give it a second or 2 before activating overheat so that they can take more damage due to some mods in the build. So make sure you position yourself in an area to hit the most enemies with Ash Blast so your next ability can one-shot the whole map. But remember, it does take some time to spread, so make sure you visually see whenever that priority target that you want to be hit is also ashed. For our last skill, we're going to be using Overheat. Overheat is our main source of damage. It's also an interrupt, so that means you can constantly interrupt enemies every 4 seconds, which is so overpowered. It also hits a large radius, meaning that it hits basically everyone on your radar and beyond. So it's basically an AoE map-wide damage ability and an interrupt. Interrupts also prevent enemies from moving, so you can actually use this to your advantage, as you want to sometimes just use it just so enemies stay put while you get there. By default, whenever you use this ability by itself, it does like no damage, but whenever you inflict burn on an enemy and you use overheats, it'll consume that burn and it'll inflict extra damage to that target. This will become even more important because we have our mod that will inflict 150% more damage if you have burn and ash on a target. The mod will consume burn and ash and it'll inflict 150% more damage to the target. So you have to keep that in mind. Whenever you use overheat, it will do no damage to enemies with no burn or ash, but it'll inflict 150% more damage whenever they have burn and ash inflicted on them. As far as your skill rotation goes, you're going to be using your heat wave. It'll inflict burn on enemies that you hit. As far as the rotation, you'll be using heat wave first. You'll try and hit as many enemies with heat wave. That'll inflict burn on those enemies. It'll also increase your anomaly power because we're using the 3-piece Akari set. And then after you use 1 or 2 heat waves, you're going to be using Ash Blast. And remember, Ash Blast is going to be inflicting ash to all enemies in a large radius. Make sure you do position yourself to be able to hit as many as you can. Also, it does take time to spread out, so make sure you watch physically with your eyes when that ash reaches the targets that you want it to hit. And then lastly, after you have burn and ash inflicted, you'll be using overheat. That'll consume the burn and the ash, and it'll one-shot the whole map. So that's key. That's the basic rotation that you need to follow in order to one-shot every single enemy on the map. Let me know if this makes sense. If not, just watch the gameplay and kind of learn how I use my skills and when I use them. Okay. For this build video, I'm going to be showing you guys the mods during a 3-minute run of Boomtown and also a 5-minute run of Chem Plant. Those are the 2 fastest ones you can do at the moment, but you can definitely gold every single expedition with this build. All right, so as we power through this Boomtown in 3 minutes, we're going to be going over the weapons that we use. For our main weapon, we will be using the automatic shotgun called Death Shield. By default, it comes with Fortress, which increases our damage, including skills, by 43% based on our armor. For the second mod, we will be using Shadow Comet. Shots call down a comet, dealing 210k damage to enemies within a 3.5 meter radius, and it's on a 3-second cooldown. You can try and use this every 3 seconds for easy cheese damage on the boss or crowds of enemies. For our second weapon, we will be using a submachine gun called the Wicker. By default, it comes with ultimate Ashen Bullet. Shots inflict ash status on enemies on a 1-second cooldown. This is going to be super useful. It's going to be a mini ash blast on a single target that you want, or multiple. You're going to be using this gun whenever your ash blast is down. So you already know you're going to inflict burn with your heat wave or your melee skill, and then you're going to shoot with your SMG, the Wicker, to inflict ash, and then you're going to press overheat for extra 150% damage to the target. And for the second mod on the Wicker, we're going to have Fortress. Again, it's going to increase our damage, including our skills, by 43%. By the way, if you do not have Fortress, I recommend using the Wicker SMG with Ultimate Ash and Shadow Comet. And if you don't have Shadow Comet, use Ultimate Burning Bullets. That's on our gear. We want to prioritize cooldown reduction, and then anomaly power, and then status power, and then skill life leech. But as long as it has cooldown reduction and anomaly power, you should be okay. For this build to work, the requirement is to have 3-piece Akari. It doesn't really matter what pieces you have, but I do recommend getting this set up how I have it. For the helmet, we're going to be using Anomaly's Visage. It comes with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and skill life leech. You can also use a random purple with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and status power. Just make sure you have the following 2 mods on it. For our first mod, we have Fire Tsunami. It increases the width of the firewall for our heat wave skill. This helps us hit more enemies per heat wave, which increases our anomaly power by per enemy hit. You can replace this with Ashen Boost or any defensive that you like for more single target damage or more survivability. For our second mod, this is a very strong mod. Using a skill deals 44k damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power. So anytime you use a skill, it'll do like an AoE around you, right? And that includes your melee skill. This mod is why I told you in the beginning of the video that we will need to be up close and personal and also use our melee skill whenever we have no skills available. We get free big damage when we use our skills. This will help melt elites or bosses whenever you are near them. For the chest, we have Armor of the Akari. It comes with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and scale life leech. For the first mod, we have Detonator. It decreases the cooldown of our overheat ability by 50%, which is pretty big since overheat will be our highest damage dealer when we have burn and ash on enemies at the time of it going off. For the second mod, we have Ash Increase Range. It increases our Ash Blast skill range by 66%. This helps us inflict ash on ads that are not even near us, so we can proceed to one-shot them with our overheat ability. Again, remember that Ash Blast does take some time to reach farther enemies, but do not take too long to press overheat or the ash will wear off from target that you hit originally. For the pants, we have Waistcloth of the Akari. It comes with anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and skill life leech. For the mods, we have Anomaly Echo. It increases our firepower by 3.2k and our anomaly power by 11.4k whenever we activate a skill for 15 seconds. For our second mod, we have Death Sentence. Whenever we use Ash Blast, your weapon damage and anomaly damage against enemies afflicted by the skill are increased by 40% and 30% for 5 seconds. So that means that your weapon damage is increased by 40% and your anomaly damage by 30%. This mod is very powerful, so try your best to have Ash Blast hit priority targets such as elites / bosses, right? For the gloves, we have a purple item. Doesn't matter what item it is. It can be any purple with anomaly power, status power, and cooldown reduction. For the first mod, we have Ride the Wave. It enables us to use an additional heat wave before triggering a cooldown. You can also use Tidal Wave, which basically does the same thing. For our second mod, we have Captain Hunter. It increases our damage to elites by 25%. This is pretty strong. This will help us do even more damage to elites, such as bosses, as doing damage to elites is where we struggle a little bit. Boots, we have Boots of the Akari. It comes with max health, cooldown reduction, and skill life leech. We are losing some base AP for cooldown reduction, so it's okay. We have more than enough damage to one-shot enemies. For the first mod, and this is a very important mod, called Master Consumer. This mod is the key to one-shotting enemies and is the main reason that our overheat does so much damage. Master Consumer, the skill consumes either burn or ash status to deal damage. Consuming both at once will increase the damage by 150%, guys. That's super strong. That's why when you're using this build, you want to prioritize to have burn and ash on any enemy before pressing overheat to do that extra damage. I do want to remind you guys that if your Ash Blast is off cooldown, make sure you use your SMG to inflict ash on the enemy and either your melee skill or heat wave to inflict burn. And then you can use overheat to consume burn and ash on the target for 150% more damage. For our second mod, we also have another important mod. It's called Burnt Out. This mod increases the damage taken by the enemies hit by heat wave by 25% for 8 seconds, and it also stacks. So that means if you hit an enemy with 2 heat waves, it'll increase your damage to that target by 50%. And if you hit them with 3 heat waves, it will increase it to 75%. And this is not only for you, it's also for your team as well. All right, so that's it for the mods, guys. I know I included a lot of tier 3 mods. If you do not have those tier 3 mods, put some mods you can replace those with for now until you get those. And those mods are Pants on Fire, Empowerment, Tidal Wave, Bullet Kindling, or Blacksmith, as well as Ashen Boost. You can take a look at what they do in the screenshot I posted. Also, as I did with my Technomancer build video, I do have a screenshot of all the mods put together on one page towards the end of the video. So make sure you stay till the end and take a picture, save it somewhere. That way you can have like a cheat sheet of what mods you need. Alrighty. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe for future Outriders content. I also do free CT15 carries on my Twitch channel. So make sure you go over there, hit me with the follow, and sign up. If you guys have any questions about anything I said in the video or have any comments or suggestions for the channel, please leave a comment down below or ask me live on Twitch. Links to all my socials will be in the description below. With that being said, enjoy the rest of the video, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Shira, about those energy spikes? The insurgents had a functioning power cell down here.
What did you do with it?
It's disabled. I'll see if Zahidi can take a look at it. And I found a pod down here.
You saved some lives today, Outrider. I would expect nothing less from you.